friends, it's Laura. I'm Mostly Crafty here on YouTube and Instagram. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. This is Flosstube number 3. If you're not new here, if you caught my first 2 Flosstubes, welcome back. I started my first Flosstubes last week and I've been blown away by the support from the Flosstube community. I have 20 subscribers, so not to brag, but I'm doing really well. I'm really grateful for the folks that have watched and followed and commented on YouTube and Instagram. I really wanted to share some of the projects that I've been working on last year and the year before, and just kind of share what I'm working with in the community. I think the Flosstube community is terrific and so supportive. They don't see everyone as a competitor. It's not a zero-sum game, so I'm just really grateful to be a part of it. If you didn't catch them, my first 2 Flosstubes were a 2025 year in review of all of my starts and finishes. And I also did a 2025 whip parade, as well as the few starts that I've already had in 2026 and kind of those whips. So today, January 11th, if I didn't already mention that, for Flosstube 3, I thought we would go over the one new start that I've had, the few whips that I've worked on, any plans, a very small amount of haul, and I wanted to also cover a couple of topics that I think have been on my mind over the past week. Number 1, predictions for 2026. Stephanie at Cross Stitch the Globe did a terrific predictions video, and Lindy Stitches also had a couple of predictions in her latest Flosstube. So I thought I could cover kind of what I think will happen in Cross Stitch or Flosstube over the next year. And then I wanted to talk about Heated Rivalry just a little bit, and some pattern ideas that I might have for you. So let's get started. First, let's talk about new starts. So my one new start is already not in the pile in my lap. I started a full moon project. Let me get this up in front of my Q-snap so maybe you can see it. If you can't see it, I'll put up a picture. This is JEDxStitch's Witch's Road, based on the Agatha All Along TV series. This is my full moon stitch. So I'm stitching this only on the day of the full moon, which this year was January 3rd so far for the first moon. This is 4,300 stitches total. I did 385 this week. I'm at 8.9%. I need to do somewhere around 330 each month to finish it by the end of the year because there's 13 moons this year. I don't know that I'll actually finish it this year. We'll see. But I was inspired by Stephanie and a few other folks, Jen's Fiberweb, who've done full moon stitches in the past. And I did this this is a 28 count ivory linen that I dyed blue myself. And I'm using the called for DMC from Jessica's pattern. So I'm very excited about that, to pick that up next month in February for the next full moon. My focus project for January is a blessing sampler, or as I would prefer to call it, an intentions sampler. I'm doing Modern Folk Embroidery's Laura's Frisian Sampler because my name is Laura. That seemed very apt. So here we've got it so far. This is on 35 count Witched antique lambswool linen. This is the same lambswool linen that I used on my Witchy Stitcher Victorian Haunt House. I got a big cut of it, and so I cut a smaller piece for this. This total is 3,937 stitches. I'm at 1,556, so I'm at 39.5%. I need to do somewhere like 120 stitches a day to get this finished by the end of the month, so I am right on track. I might finish it early. I have gone hog wild with the colors. I basically, you can see in my project bag, which is an old Ziploc bag. I'm very fancy here at Casa Mostly Crafty. Pulled a bunch of DMCs from my mom's old stash, and I'm stitching with them. I will use the bright pink, which is I think 600 for my initials as much as I can. So I actually did a little bit more stitching this week than normal because these were already in that pink, so I ripped those out, ripped some other stuff so that I could have the pink just for my initials, and I'll fill in with this darker cranberry color. So this is really fun so far. My next stitch, and I work on this almost every Sunday, is Colorful Disco Ball by Loopycross on Etsy. I did just see someone, okay, so I bought this pattern almost a year ago, I think in March, and the comments were like, great pattern, terrific pattern, and no one had stitched it. And I checked their Etsy listing a few days ago, and someone has finished it. So I'm not the only one in the world that's stitching it. I should find that person, reach out to them to ask how much they dislike this pattern. This is on, I think it's 18 count Easy Grid Aida. Eventually when I finish it, it'll fit in I think a 10-inch hoop, which is how I'll finish this. This is total 15,146 stitches. I'm at 851, so 54%. I call it the Disco Ball of Doom because it's never ending and I will never finish it. And look, there's threads hanging off it already. I'm crushing it. The third of 6 whips that I worked on this week is Blueberry J by JEDxStitch. I did not iron this. I started this in December, like the second week of December, kind of as a mid-winter start for myself. A lot of folks have a snow day project and stitch on it only on days when it snows. That's terrific. It does not snow where I live. All it does is rain. So I also can't say, oh, I'll stitch on this when it rains, because I would never, literally never stop stitching on it. I said, well, you know what? It is not sunny in Seattle. I will do a sunny day stitch. Joke's on me. It's been very sunny. It's already been sunny 3 or 4 days this week. So I put 340 stitches in on this. I'll show it again. Mostly down here, and I picked up this new orange color, kind of this peachy orange in it. So on this, I am 12%. I have 1,300 stitches out of 11,657. Every day I take this out of the hoop once I'm done, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna go in the drawer. I won't work on it again for weeks. And then I pull it out the next day because the sun has come back out. It was a little sunny earlier. The way I decide if it's sunny is if I'm sitting at my desk and I have to lower the blinds because the sun is in my eyes and it's like giving me a halo on work calls, then it's sunny. Or if it's like bluebird skies and obviously sunny outside, or if I'm walking the dog and I go, gosh, oh, it's sunny. Huh, okay, that's weird. Then I can stitch on it. If it's anywhere in between, I might stitch on it, I might not. We'll see. I love JEDxStitch. She's one of my favorite pattern designers. The next project that I worked on, I only worked on this a little bit, but I worked on it right before this. So it's fresh in my mind. That's a needle. That's cool. Just hanging out. This is a temperature stitch. It is called Local Conditions by Satsuma Street. And the idea with this is that you stitch on it with a different color for the high temperature of every day. There's a lot of other temperature stitches out there. Climbing Goat Designs has some really cool galaxy ones that I thought seemed very neat, and you can stitch the high and the low color each day. I decided to go with Local Conditions. It already feels like a very Emerald City vibe because so far we've had mostly mid 50 degree days, which is pretty warm for winter. So I've got a lot of green. I'm parking my threads if I don't use the whole strand. And today I had to go buy color 16 and do the past 2 days of stitching. This is on, I think, 16 count Aida that I dyed pink. I have 140 stitches into it, so I'm like 2-something%. I don't think I mentioned what JEDxStitch Blueberry J is on. Blueberry J is on 28 count malachite, which is the called for. I am having a little hard time seeing this. I got my new stitching glasses. Dang it. I got my new stitching glasses and they don't magnify as much as the magnification glasses I was using. So they told me to try them out, give them a shot, and we can remake them if we need to. It's fine on the light color fabric, but on this, I'm stabbing at it. So I might need to get new glasses again. We'll see. So that's Local Conditions. It's fun. I've kind of been stitching on it every 2 or 3 days. I think I'll start waiting and doing it on Sunday, or maybe Saturday instead, and do the whole week. I find myself, digging out a couple of colors of floss, and I use the same color, every other day. This is being kept, look at me with a project bag, sort of. This Lily Pulitzer plastic makeup case that I got at St. Vincent de Paul in Indianapolis at the thrift store. But I made my own kind of floss drop card when I printed the temperature pattern out. So I kind of have just like the last weeks of colors on here. So we'll see if that holds. I think it'd be easier if I started doing it, once a week, and I can kind of stitch several days at a time instead of digging it out, finding the right color, and then doing it. Put this back. The last whip I worked on this week is Summer Quaker by Lila's Studio. I'm using this as my incentive sal project. Catherine at Accounting My Stitches is doing an incentive sal where you earn stitches based, because you did something. So she's doing it if she listens to an audiobook, she gets 100 stitches for every hour she listens to. I'm doing it for extra workouts. Not to say that you need to earn anything by working out. That's not how any of this works. Just kind of thought I would tie it to something a little bit different. I work out with a trainer every Saturday. I have been for a really long time. My trainer is terrific. I just hadn't been getting myself to the gym for additional workouts in December like I should. So just every time I can do an extra workout or do my PT exercises or go to yoga class or anything like that, I get some stitching time on this. I went twice to 2 classes this week, so I earned 200 stitches and I nailed it. When I finished this orange in this little flower, it was like at 200 exactly. And I was like, yes, that feels amazing when you do that. This is a 28-ish count ivory linen that I thrifted. This one might be Zweigart. I don't have the selvage on this, I can't remember. Called for DMC, except this orange is called for 921 and I'm using 922 or vice versa. When I was pulling some of the flosses for this, I found 2 skeins already of that other orange color. I thought, well, I'll just use that instead of buying a new one. They're roughly the same color. So that was my whips for the week. I worked on 6 whips. I have 11 total. And I have some plans for 2 more. In terms of plans for the next week, I have 1 maybe plan and 1 concrete plan. The maybe plan is that I'm going to work on a black work ornament project. In my whip go this month, I pulled Summer Quaker by Lila's Studio, and I also pulled a black work project. I really like the peppermint purple black work sal that they're doing this year, and Claire's layout is really cool. She's kind of got it color blocked by rainbows, and a lot of folks are taking those and making them into biscornus. So I might do that, or I might stitch a cross stitch black work project from the 2024 Just Cross Stitch Christmas magazine. There's an ornament in here. I don't think I can show you the pattern because I think it's just the pattern. There's not a great picture of it. If I can find one, I'll pop it in. Part of my haul this week was that I went down to get some DMC at the local yarn store. They sell it for $1 a skein, which I thought was a steal. They have a whole new rack, and I needed some for my temperature stitch. And they had DMC 4019, which is a variegated kind of red and green color skein. So I thought that might be fun for that project if I fussy cut it a little bit. And then I also got another handful of other DMC skeins for Summer Quaker, temperature stitching, Blueberry J. I also have this cotton from my friend Amber. It's actually offcuts from her weaving when they offcut the warp on the loom. They get these leftovers. I think this is the size of like a regular strand of, or length of DMC, you know, with the 6 strands. I might see if this works because I have kind of a red, white, and green, and then red, pink, and green offcut. And she says she has tons of this. It's just mercerized cotton. So if I can use that for something, I might tinker around with that and see if that works for my plans. My second plan is participating in the A Better Cottage Corsale, hosted by Marumi Designs. If I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. They are stitching Twonies by JEDxStitch and UncannyKari for a Heated Rivalry stitch along. So if you have not heard about Heated Rivalry, it's okay. You can pause this YouTube. You can go to your For You page and scroll to your heart's content, and I'll be waiting here when you come back. Okay, great, welcome back. Heated Rivalry is on HBO Max. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. It is a wonderful show about hockey, and it has taken over my For You page. So Marumi Designs is stitching this Twonies pattern, which is a loon, and so it plays a small part in the show. If you know, you know. I thought that would be really fun to start. So I dyed some fabric last night. This is a vintage Zweigart Lugana 28 count that I thrifted when I was in Cleveland at a reuse store. It didn't take the purple quite as well as I wanted. I was really going for a really, really deep purple, probably because I only have the cotton RIT dye, not the polyester RIT dye, but it's fine. We'll see. The floss it calls for is Brennan Needle, which is out of Canada, and I would love to stitch this with a Roxy floss or a Brennan Needle or, you know, an Evertote fabric. Very Canadian. The show is made in Canada by Crave. It will never get here in time for me to start it. I plan on starting this on Friday when I go down to Oregon to see my friend Amber. She loves Heated Rivalry. She has been talking about the books for years. She's been talking about the show for weeks. She loves, loves, loves it. So I thought I would start the Stupid Canadian Wolfbird on this on Friday. So either I'll use the called for, which is like black and white, like 310 white and 1 green color, or when I drive down there, I'll be able to stop off at Acorns and Threads and get some fancy flosses. I'll have my dog in the car. We'll see if that works out or not, but that is my second plan for the next couple of weeks. That leads me into talking a little bit about our favorite topic, Heated Rivalry. And if you're really into Heated Rivalry, maybe you want to stitch something fun while you watch it or rewatch it again. Maybe you want to stitch something while you're watching the commentary on Heated Rivalry. If you haven't seen the Empty Netters podcast recaps, I think they're terrific. And those guys go on a journey that is just as amazing as Shane and Ilya. I highly recommend it. I'll put a link to the YouTube down in the comments. It's terrific. In terms of Heated Rivalry themed patterns or patterns that you could make Heated Rivalry themed, I have about 10 of them to suggest. The first being Twonies, again, that I already talked about. This is on Kofi by UncannyKari and JEDxStitch. Highly recommend picking this up. The loon is a Canadian bird, and the Canadian coin is called a toonie. If you've never, the Canadian $2 coin used to be called a toonie. There's another loon pattern, Loon Lake by Crossed Wing Collection on 123 stitch. Slightly different version of a loon if you wanted it to have similar vibes. I have 2 I'm Coming to the Cottage patterns. The first is a kit by Subversive Cross Stitch, so you get everything in once shipped to you. The next is a pattern by Silly Billy Cross on Etsy. They have a ton of other Heated Rivalry themed like jerseys and a sunshine pattern. I thought this one was particularly good. You could also take any of those floral wreath designs you have from Subversive Cross Stitch, any of those other feminist cross stitch books, and rechart I'm Coming to the Cottage or anything you want to say in there. Next up is a Canada Dry Ginger Ale pattern it's a needlepoint pattern on Etsy by Olive Stitch Co. I thought this was really cute. If you've ever stitched a Diet Coke or Diet Dr. Pepper can or a LaCroix can, it's very much in the same vein. Put it in a hoop, put it behind your desk. Again, if you know, you know. Next up is Boy Aquarium Admit 1 by Erin Marie Needlepoint. Another needlepoint pattern, very easy to translate into cross stitch. They use the same grid pattern. It's also available as a needlepoint canvas, but I think this would be really simple to take, make a little stitch, maybe make a little notebook cover or a luggage tag, something like that. If you don't know what the Boy Aquarium is, the Boy Aquarium is a hockey rink. You go and you tap on the glass, right? It's a whole thing. In terms of patterns that you might want to adjust slightly to be more Heated Rivalry themed, F the Patriarchy keychain. This is a Taylor pattern. You know I love Taylor. I think you could very easily take out the F the Patriarchy words in this and rechart 1221, or really anything you would want it to say. I couldn't find any good 1221 keychains on Etsy. They were kind of dorky looking. So I'm sure more will come in the next few weeks. But in the meantime, I think this would be easy to adjust to say whatever room number you wanted to say. Lake Life by Erin Elizabeth. I think you could very easily change the text on this to say I'm coming to the cottage and, you know, make it a little cozy themed. I think that would be adorable. There's also some more just Canada themed patterns, including ink circles, reflections of Canada. I have this pattern. I actually bought it for a friend's wedding to stitch for her. It's one of her mandala patterns, very Canadian. You could stitch it in red. You could, you know, take some of the motifs and make your own mandala if you really wanted to. Lake Life, oh, I already said that one. This O Canada cross stitch pattern by Ottawa Creatives. I think you could very easily take any just Canadian pattern and put something about, you know, like going to Ottawa or Montreal is for lovers, that sort of thing. And then the last pattern is Dancing Loon by Petrocha pattern. They're on Patreon. I believe they're a Russian pattern maker from way up in the north, so that ties kind of nicely into the Russian stuff that's in Heated Rivalry. But I thought this version of the loon was also pretty cool. Something just a little bit different. If you have any ideas of Heated Rivalry patterns, or if there's something you're stitching or you come across, just let me know in the comments. I'm happy to continue to share those as we go along and, you know, just share the love for this amazing TV show with everyone else. To wrap up today's Flosstube, I wanted to talk about predictions for 2026. I might be a new Flosstuber, but I'm pretty plugged into the broader world and kind of what's happening. I'm taking inspiration from Stephanie at Cross Stitch the Globe's post, as well as Lindy Stitches. They both made some predictions in their latest videos. Stephanie did a 2025 wrap up and made 2026 predictions. I'll put the links to those floss tubes below. I have 3 predictions. I think that we'll see more stitching games. We know a lot of folks are doing Whip Go. There's an upcoming Olympic stitching game by the Naptime Stitcher. Jessie Marie Does Stuff also just released Milestone Manor. There's some other stitchy games out there. I think we will see more games to gamify stitching, create some community, and kind of encourage people maybe to pick up whips that they haven't worked on or do something in conjunction with others. I think we will also see more Patreons and more Patreon stitch-alongs. I know there's been a lot of stitch-along drama lately in the floss community, but I think given the economy and how tough things are, I think more and more designers will start gating things on their Patreons and either create a new Patreon or create stitch-alongs that are only available on their Patreon so that they can earn more money and also earn money when they release those patterns at a market to needlework stores, etc. My last prediction for 2026 is I think we'll see people stitching more vintage patterns or more old magazine patterns. I've seen a lot of folks say that they're going to do a no-buy in 2026, so no new fabric, no new patterns, stitch from stash. I think we're seeing that because the uncertainty in the economy, certainly in the US, what the hell is our government doing? Tariffs are impacting the ability to import fancy flosses or hand-dyed fabric from a lot of different places. The same is true for patterns or kits. I think with the uncertainty and, you know, people's budgets getting tighter and tighter, people are saying no buy. I think people will shop their stash or thrift a little bit more and go back to some of these old-timey vintage patterns, old-time pattern books, you know, old cross-stitch magazines. I have a collection of old cross-stitch magazines that I've gotten from my mom or thrifted. Anytime I see one for like $1, I'll pick it up just to kind of save it from the landfill. The patterns are hard to read because they're on old time paper, but I think we'll see more and more people stitching like old timey vintage patterns that they don't necessarily have to pay $45 to purchase. Let me know what you think your predictions are for 2026. I highly recommend you check out Stephanie and Stephanie's videos, Stephanie at Lindy Stitches videos as well. If you made it this far, leave me an hourglass emoji for the passing of time and what is time, wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Thanks again for coming to my third Flosstube. I really appreciate the support. Please like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram at mostlycrafty, and I'll see you soon. Have a good one.